Elneg Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky-roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News at 6 o'clock. Our top stories. Angela Rayner has ruled out running to be leader of the Labour Party, saying she would never put herself forward to be Prime Minister. It follows a series of stories suggesting Ms Rayner is challenging Sir Keir Starmer's leadership. Those reports have focused on a leaked memo from her department in which the Deputy Prime Minister appeared to be urging the Chancellor for new taxes on the rich and a clampdown on welfare benefits for migrants. Well, speaking to a number of broadcasters earlier, Ms Rayner denied being behind the leak to boost her own credentials, saying she would never run to replace the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, the Deputy Prime Minister says the government is considering scrapping the two-child benefit cap. It follows a report in The Observer claiming Sir Keir Starmer is in favour of abolishing the limit, despite last year's pledge to keep it. The policy, introduced under the last Conservative government, prevents most families from claiming benefits for any third or additional children born after April 2017. The Prime Minister is under pressure from within his party to change course on benefits and to restore pensioners' winter fuel payments. And that comes after reports that Reform UK and Nigel Farage are planning to commit to changing both policies if they get into government. The leader of the opposition, meanwhile, Kemi Badenoch, has called for the immediate restoration of fuel payments and says the two-child benefit cap should stay. At least 12 people, including 3 children from the same family, have been killed in Ukraine after Russia launched its largest aerial attack of the war so far. The barrage of missiles and drones More than 367 of them hit the capital, Kyiv, and a number of towns and villages across the country. Ukrainian authorities say it's the biggest attack since the beginning of the war. Its President Volodymyr Zelensky says America's silence and the silence of others in the world only encourages Vladimir Putin. Russia has continued to ignore his calls for a 30-day ceasefire. And all of this came as the final prisoner exchange was being completed. 303 soldiers on each side have been returned, bringing the total over the last 3 days to 1,000 prisoners being exchanged on each side. Finally, tributes are being paid to Alan Yentob, the BBC Arts broadcaster who has died at the age of 78. Yentob joined the BBC as a trainee in 1968 and went on to hold a number of executive positions, including Director of Television, Director of Drama and Head of Music and the Arts. He was credited with the revival of BBC Two, commissioning Absolutely Fabulous, The Late Show and Have I Got News for You. Dawn French, star of Ab Fab, has described him as a tip-top chap. Comedian David Baddiel has said Yentob was the king of television. Those are your latest headlines. I'll be back with more at 7 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good morning and welcome to the Camilla Tominey Show. Winter fuel payments, the sentencing review, the Chagos deal and a possible Brexit reversal. It's been another very busy week. Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch will join me. What's her reaction to the Tories polling in 4th place behind the Liberal Democrats? I'll also be speaking to Alex Ballinger, Labour MP for Hales-Owen. Is Keir Starmer about to U-turn on the winter fuel allowance? One of Donald Trump's closest advisors, Jason Miller, will be here. What's the US president really like in real life? And why has he slapped 50% tariffs on the European Union? Joining me now is the Labour MP for Hales-Owen, Alex Ballinger. Mr. Ballinger, thanks so much for joining me on a Sunday morning. Great to speak to you, I think, for the first time on the show. Good morning. Good morning. Can we talk about the Chagos deal? Because I'm intrigued. Your background's obviously in the military. You were a former Royal Marine. You can't be happy about this deal deep down, despite, I'm sure, your obvious loyalty to the Prime Minister. It's a £30 billion cost to the taxpayer to give Mauritius something that we own. So we're paying to have something taken from us. It doesn't make any sense. If anything, we should be getting some money, shouldn't we?
Thanks, Camilla, and it's great to be on the show. Yeah, as you say, as a former Royal Marine and someone that worked for the Foreign Office for a long time, I know how important this base is for our national security. So it has a big runway, really important deep water port, lots of communications and surveillance devices there that are essential for our security in the Indo-Pacific. So it's vital that we keep hold and secure the operations of the base. This is why the last government started to negotiate with Mauritius to keep hold of the base. They went through 11 rounds of negotiations. In fact, Kemi Badenoch said back in February that she understands the negotiations over the islands are needed due to the international legal position. So we've done a good deal. It's £3.4 billion is the number that all the civil service organisations are recognising.
That's not correct, is it? Hang on, we must nail this down. No, it's not. 3.4 billion has been said as an interim cost, but over the course of the entire deal, it's going to be costing the taxpayer 30 billion. And that's a figure that hasn't been denied by the government and has been verified by various different journalists who have actually drilled into the data. So let's not pretend it's 3.4 billion, because it isn't. It is 3.4 billion. That's Are you denying the 30 billion figure?
I'm saying the way that civil service calculates the cost of these things means that it costs us 3.4 billion. It's how we compare it to other projects. It's 0.2% of the defence budget.
Let's give the real cost. Let's give the real cost. Let's not muck about here. We know the civil service figure, but over the course of the deal, it's going to cost the taxpayer £30 billion. Are you denying that figure? Because the government isn't.
So I'm saying that the calculations that are used, the way that we assess the value of these things is 3.4 billion. The way we compare it to running an aircraft carrier, or the way we compare it to running other parts of our defence expenditure, the way that that is calculated
This is a
means
deal
it's
that's
going to
going
cost us 3.4 billion.
No, that's just a fudge. This is a deal that's going to go on for decades. I'm sorry, Mr. Ballinger. The government hasn't denied the £30 billion figure. So over the course of this deal, in the long run, it's going to cost the taxpayer £30 billion, isn't it?
I think the important thing is it's going to cost us less than 0.2% of the defence budget. It's going to cost us less than a similar deal that the French agreed for a much smaller base in Africa. And it's going to cost us, in fact, less than the cost of the PPE that was wasted during the mismanaged COVID pandemic. So it is a good deal. It's essential for our national security.
Will be saying we shouldn't be spending any money at all giving away our own sovereign territory to Mauritius, not least, and from a military perspective, I'd be really intrigued by your response to this, when there is a clause in the deal saying that the UK is to inform Mauritius of any warlike activity conducted from it. Now, defence and security experts are now worried that Mauritius might pass on information to their friends in China and Russia. That's hugely concerning, isn't it?
I think that's a complete mischaracterisation. Mauritius is a Commonwealth ally. They agree with us that China is a threat. There are clauses built into the contract that specifically exclude countries like China and Russia from developing anything anywhere near the base. The checks that the contracts have gone through the American system. I might say the Americans, the Australians, the Canadians, the New Zealanders, they've all welcomed this deal because they know how vital it is for the Five Eyes intelligence sharing operations in the Indo-Pacific. So it's not right to say that Mauritius is a threat. They are a close friend of ours. They are not associated with China. They're an ally of India more than any other country.
And yet the person who was sitting on the ICJ when this was kind of floated and Lord Hermer and others suddenly decided this was a great idea, this Chagos giveaway, is a member of the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, I'm not aware of that, I'm afraid. But as I say, the negotiations have been checked off by the Americans, by the Trump administration, through all of the interagency process that includes all of the American security agencies. And they're happy with the deal. They're happy it secures our interests in the area from countries like China and Russia.
Let's move on to domestic matters. Do you think the winter fuel cut should be reversed, Mr. Ballinger?
Well, I think we're in a different situation than we were a year ago. You'll remember, of course, the awful economic inheritance that we had, the public finance gap, the broken public services. So we had to make some difficult decisions then to ensure that our public finances were in good order. Now, we're seeing some really good economic news, that the 3 trade deals that we've agreed with the US, India and the EU, they've warmly been welcomed by businesses. And the start of this year, we're now the fastest growing economy in the G7. I mean, that's faster than America, Canada, France, Germany. So we're doing really well. And I think it's important that people recognise and get some of that growth.
Let's just caveat that. First of all, that was Q1 growth and it didn't take into account what's being described as awful April. Second of all, we've just seen inflation fly up to 3.5%. So economically, we're not really in a different place to what we were before Rachel Reeves's budget, which has been widely panned by most economists. So actually, if he does reverse the winter fuel cut, it's got nothing to do with the economy at all and everything to do with political expediency. He's realised that it is a universally disastrous and hated policy that's on a par in popularity stakes with the poll tax.
I think you're right, it was unpopular. But the reason we're now able to consider reversing part of the winter fuel allowance is because the economy is doing better. There are businesses championing the trade deals that we've got over the last couple of months. Almost every supermarket, the Confederation of British Industry, up and down the country, in my area, automotive manufacturers, defence manufacturers are really welcoming the deals we've got, the growth that they're going to make and the contribution that gives to the exchequer to allow us to make sure that some pensioners receive this winter fuel allowance again.
I mean, we have also got record numbers of businesses closing and a record low in businesses starting. But let's move on to the 2-child benefit cap. Should that be lifted? Because Nigel Farage seems to think so.
Well, I think it's important when you hear what Nigel Farage says is the promises that he made during the election have been completely uncosted. There's £100 billion of uncosted spending in the Reform Manifesto, and that's more than the amount of money that Liz Truss was spending during the disastrous mini-budget. So I think there's some real questions that Reform have to answer around how they're going to pay for these things, how they're going to pay for all these promises that they're going to make without crashing the economy.
But what do you think? Because this is being tabled by a number of your colleagues. So we're now in the frame, apparently, of Labour considering lifting that two-child cap. What do you think? Is it affordable? Is it a good idea with the benefits bill already sky high?
Well, that's the important question, Camilla. Is it affordable? Have we grown the economy enough to enable us to pay for these things? Because, of course, a Labour government cares deeply about poverty. We care a lot about reducing the poverty on children across the country, which is why we're focusing on energy bills, bringing down energy bills. We're focusing on getting more unemployed parents back into the workforce, and we're really focusing on building more affordable and social housing. But I think if there's an opportunity to pay for it, if the economic signs are looking better, we should be considering things like improving the two-child benefit cap, if we can afford it and if that is good for our economic stability.
If taxes have to go up at the next budget in the autumn, as is being predicted, because you might reverse winter fuel cuts and so on and so forth. And equally, we've got rumours today in the papers that Rachel Reeves is going to have to abandon her fiscal rules. After all, she hasn't got enough headroom. What are the good people of Halesowen going to think, Mr Ballinger?
Well, of course, nobody wants to raise taxes, which is why our focus is ruthlessly on growing the economy. While all of those things that I've been talking about, all of these trade deals that we've agreed that are going to benefit manufacturing businesses in the West Midlands, in the Halesowen, are going to allow us to invest more in public services without raising taxes.
Could you rule out tax cuts when you go around the doorsteps of Halesowen? Can you say to constituents taxes won't go up because we're at a record tax high anyway, 38% of GDP by the end of this Parliament?
Well, I don't want taxes to go up. Of course, we don't know what sort of things can happen internationally. There's been a lot of crises recently that have caused all sorts of changes to the economy. But I think the country is doing everything it can to protect working people, which is why in the budget, working people were protected from any tax rises that we had to make.
All right. Mr Ballinger, thank you so much for your time this morning. Great to speak to you.
Thanks, Camilla.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. See, from high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
A very good morning to you. And if you're planning to visit one of Britain's many beauty spots next bank holiday or Easter weekend, beware of your car.
Yeah, a rising number of tourist attractions are banning coaches and some cars to help ease overcrowding.
We're here to debate if vehicles should be stopped from parking near attractions. Government Relations Manager at the Countryside Alliance, David Bean, and founder of Fair Fuel UK campaign, Howard Cox. Good morning to you both.
David, how much of a problem are tourists when there are too many of them and they bring their great camper vans and they park all their cars in a line so you actually can't see the beauty spot you went to see? How much of a problem is it?
It can be a significant problem in certain areas. I'm in Scotland for the holidays, and particularly in areas such as the Highlands and Islands, there are areas that have very, very badly been affected. Even some camper vans end up getting taken out to certain places on the islands and then just abandoned after a holiday is finished.
Honestly, this is horses for courses, and to be fair, You know, I actually do believe that we need better signage, better planning, and Cameron hit the nail on the head. You can't get to these beauty spots unless you have some sort of transport to get there. And, you know, public transport is woeful across the country in these areas. Obviously, yesterday in the Berlin Gap one, you can't legislate for idiots. It needs better signage, better information, but if you take people away from it, you take income away from the community. You know, I think any organisation that's promoting a beauty spot that's making money out of it should be paying for better signage, better parking facilities, etc. I do not like the idea of cars being, you know, queuing up illegally, you could say. That's ridiculous.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Joining me now is former Trump senior advisor Jason Miller. Lovely to see you in the UK. You've had a great week, haven't you?
It's great to be here, and congratulations on the ratings. I know
Thank you very much.
GB News has put the competitors at an absolute disadvantage.
We are doing our best over here. Now, let's get stuck into some newsy items, including the announcement, I think it was yesterday, if I haven't lost track of time, that Trump is now slapping 50% tariffs on the EU. Why is he doing this? What has he got against Brussels?
Well, keep in mind, this is Brussels. You have to separate out Brussels, as the UK would know, from necessarily the rest of the European countries, from the member countries. So where President Trump has had his greatest success are the bilateral trade agreements, US-UK, whether it be US, and we're probably going to see things in other countries in Asia and South Asia and the likes. But the EU is very much controlled by these bureaucrats, these technocrats in Brussels. They're very much putting up a resistance fight. They do not want to make any concessions to the Americans, particularly when it comes to agriculture imports, when it comes to auto imports, non-tariff trade barriers. They're digging in and fighting. And I think the president is sending a very clear message that if they don't come to the table, if they don't play ball, there will be ramifications.
It is all a negotiation, though, Jason. When he does these things.
But we've seen, yes, it's a negotiation. And I would say, if you look at Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, his comments saying that this was essentially a wake-up call for the EU. But the president, as we've seen, has not been afraid to push forward on a number of these. So my recommendation to the EU is get smart here.
Also, on Chagos, it's got a few people scratching their heads over here. Why was Trump happy with us giving away our own sovereign territory to Mauritius, which is in turn linked to China? Obviously, Diego Garcia, extremely important from a strategic perspective to the US. There's a clause in this deal that says that we must share defence and security information with Mauritius as a given. Then that might fall into the hands of Beijing. You never know. There was some Chinese Communist Party involvement in the ICJ, which recommended this giveaway anyway. Why isn't he more concerned?
Well, to be clear on this one point, I'm not speaking on behalf of the president or even the U.S. ambassador to the UK, Warren Stevens, but I would say that I believe that Nigel Farage is absolutely right, that this is a terrible deal, that I don't think that this should be going forward. Now, keep in mind, when President Trump was asked about this, it was when they were announcing the UK trade deal. And my own hunch, again, having not discussed this directly with the president, is that he didn't want to upend the apple cart, so to speak, and step on the positive news on the trade development. I do not think this matter is completely done or settled yet, and nor do I think that it should be. I think this is very problematic.
OK, interesting. We also understand that President Trump has sent a delegation of State Department diplomats to discuss freedom of speech with pro-life campaigners who have come unstuck here because they've been deemed to breach sort of exclusion zones outside abortion clinics and all the rest of it. In general, we had Charlie Kirk over in the week. He spoke to Ben Leo for a great show on GB News. There seems to be this concern among you and your fellow Americans about freedom of speech in this country. What's your biggest worry?
Well, it's because you see the restrictions on free speech rights all around the world. And by the way, it's it's not just the UK. I think you're going to see the State Department be very active in pushing for free speech rights all around the world, and particularly in democracies where it should exist. Now, in the United States, we very much take for granted our First Amendment rights. That's the right to free speech. Literally, the First Amendment has to do with free speech. But I think in any civilized society, they should have the ability for free speech. And even if sometimes that's stupid free speech. Now, I'm not saying that in the case of, say, Lucy Connolly, for example,
Yes.
that clearly what she said was completely stupid. There's no defense for it. However, 31 months in prison when you have violent people who've done just horrific acts
Yes.
that get out far less time, 31 months. You see some of these restrictions. And also keep in mind with President Trump, this is personal on free speech. You think about how he was deplatformed by the major social media platforms in his own political campaigns. You also look at the way they suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story. Because
we've also heard about the suppression of Biden's bad health.
Correct. Well, that one is a little bit more complicit from both his own staff and the media. But there should be free speech. There should be a fight for free speech. And I'm glad that the State Department, at President Trump's direction, is using the bully pulpit to advocate for that.
Can you lift the lid somewhat on what the president is actually like? I mean, you've worked with him on 3 presidential campaigns. 2 went very well, 1 not so much. You've been with him in good times and in bad. What is he actually like in real life?
Determined. I don't know how he's able to do it. He's up well before I am. He goes to sleep well after I do. He's a machine, even though I believe he's at a young age of, I believe, 78 at the moment. He is an absolute machine, and he's determined. I think there are really 2 main things that the public misses. Number 1 is how much he actually cares for people. When he, say, for example, when he sees the fact that innocent Ukrainians are being killed, and he says, I want to stop the killing, that he genuinely is concerned about that. When he sees the working class Americans who are being passed over in favor of, say, globalist trade policies, that hits him at a personal level. He very much cares and feels for people. So that's very genuine. The other thing, too, is he's very funny. The sense of humor it can be biting at times. Sometimes I've been on the wrong end of that one.
I'm not sure some of his enemies would give this kind of glowing appraisal of his talents. I mean, if you speak to people like Michael Wolff, his biographer, and others that don't like him very much, they say he has no ideology. He's just a political opportunist. It's all just about the Donald. He's got this huge ego. He keeps on falling out with people. In fact, it's a miracle you've worked with him on 3 presidential campaigns and you're still in contact with the man. Many people aren't. There is this other side to him, surely, Jason.
And I don't know. If there is a 4th campaign, I'll be the first person to sign up. But I would say that, of course, the detractors are going to say something. But, to the consistency on the ideological aspect, if you go back to the 1980s, the first thing where President Trump really popped up on the radar screen was with regard to trade. And he was taking issue with the Japan-U.S. Auto trade relationship. And so that's something that he's been very consistent on. His advocacy for working class Americans, the way that he's transformed the party into the party of the working class. There's a lot of consistency there. Now, the one thing I will say that I think people sometimes conflate these two is having maximum flexibility to get deals done does not necessarily mean that you're ideologically inconsistent. It means that you know where you want to get to, and you're going to be flexible with exactly how you do it.
Can I pick you up on something you just said earlier? You kind of just snuck it into the conversation. Are you suggesting that there is a chance that he could run again in 2028? I know people have had some baseball caps made up. I thought they were just joshing the Democrats. I mean, how could that be facilitated? No president's meant to run for more than 2 terms, right?
And I would say that it's probably unlikely that happens. But if he were to do it, of course, I would sign up and do it. And I think there are a lot of folks in America who would love to see him do another term. But unfortunately, unless we're able to change the Constitution in short order, which I wouldn't have much time to go and work on that, I don't think that's going to be the case. But the president has said publicly that that's not something he's currently planning on doing.
OK, so if he doesn't run, what's your suggestion for who might be the next US president?
So I'm a massive fan of Vice President Vance. I think that he was a tremendous leader. I think there's a reason why President Trump picked him to be the vice president, because he wants to make sure that there is a strong future movement for MAGA, the Make America Great Again movement. I've been very impressed working with Vice President Vance behind the scenes. I worked with him on the campaign trail, doing debate prep, things of that nature. I think he's a genius intellect. I think he understands the changing nature of the world economy. He's also someone who comes quite frankly, from a humble upbringing. And I think he's
a hillbilly, self-styled.
He's had that fight. He's had to do it. So I'm a big fan.
Is he diplomatic enough, though? Many people over here don't like the way he treated President Zelensky during that unedifying Oval Office spectacle.
Well, I think President Zelensky invited a lot of that on himself. But look, JD has his own style. Vice President Vance, sorry, he's now elected, so I have to put the title in there, otherwise it'd be disrespectful. But he's very sharp. He is very good. I think if you look back to the debate that he had with Tim Walz, the way that he was able to flip the script and move to the middle and become the bipartisan centrist candidate in that debate, put Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate, off to an island of being to the radical left. JD is very, very smooth in how he can do this, and I think he'd make a fantastic president.
Jason Miller, thank you very much indeed for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Great to speak to you.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. During the week ahead, we'll see rather unsettled weather across the UK, all of us seeing some outbreaks of rain at times, quite blustery winds at times too. Low pressure sitting towards the north and northeast of the UK at the moment, fairly tightly packed isobars, indicating quite blustery winds. So all our weather moving in from the west at the moment. And as we head into the evening and through the overnight period, certainly see quite a few showers moving in from the west, across northern and western parts of Scotland, into Northern Ireland and the northwest of England. The best of the clear spells tonight towards the south and east of the UK, and it's across the south. Obviously, temperatures holding up fairly well, generally in the high single figures, whereas towards the north of the UK, certainly in rural spots, dipping low enough in rural areas for a touch of frost by Monday morning. As for Monday morning, a bank holiday, of course, there'll be plenty of fine weather towards the south and east of the UK to start with, whereas towards the north, quite a few showers coming in across the north and west of Scotland. So at this stage of the day, it's the northeast of Scotland seeing the best of the bright weather. For Northern Ireland, a bit of an east-west split first thing, showers out towards the west, some sunshine towards the east. A few showers out across northern and western parts of England and into parts of Wales too. So it's towards the southeast, as I mentioned earlier, that we'll see the best of the early sunshine. As we go through the day, showers will start to break out more widely from the west. I think the south and east generally seeing the fewest in the way of showers, whereas out towards the west, those showers will tend to merge, especially as we go into the afternoon to give some more persistent outbreaks of rain. Quite blustery winds once again, still a chance of local gales up towards the far north of the UK, and temperatures a little bit on the cool side, certainly towards the north and west, the low to mid-teens at best, perhaps peaking at 17 or 18 Celsius down towards the southeast. 18 is 64 in Fahrenheit. As we go into Tuesday, it's a quieter start to the day, plenty of sunshine, just one or two showers around, but notice further outbreaks of rain moving in from the west and southwest as we go through the day, some of that turning quite heavy as we head into the afternoon, particularly out towards the west and southwest. It stays unsettled for the rest of the week, further rain to come at times. Where the sun comes through though, temperatures not doing too badly, peaking in the high teens to low 20s Celsius.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. I'm joined now by the leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, who's in the studio today. Thank you very much for returning.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. This is interesting, isn't it? Nigel Farage is going to announce on Tuesday he's going to scrap the winter fuel cut and the two-child benefit cap. Your reaction? Would you do that too?
Well, on the winter fuel, yes, we have said that. We've been voting for that in Parliament multiple times. And on Wednesday, you would have seen at PMQs, I got Keir Starmer on the hook for what looks like a partial U-turn. But definitely not on the two-child benefit cap. That's wrong. It's not a serious thing to say. That cap is there for a reason. It's not fair to allow some people to just claim more and more and more benefits for an endless number of children that they can't afford, while other people aren't having children or waiting longer because they can't afford it and are saving to be able to provide a stable environment, especially as we now have the situation where immigration is very high. There are lots of people coming to the country who become eligible for these benefits, and they have many children. I don't think that this is the time to be removing that cap. And what is really surprising is that Nigel Farage is clearly chasing Labour votes.
Yes.
We are the only credible party on the right.
I know, but you could argue that he's doing that because he's picked off enough Tories. You're down to 4th in the polls. Well, so he's hoovered up your support base, and now he's parking his tanks on Labour's lawns. And who can blame him, really?
Well, many of those people who were Conservatives will be wondering what exactly is it that they're supporting, because they voted us in when we put that benefit cap in place. That was in better economic times. We cannot afford it. Camilla, we're spending £100 billion on the interest on our debt every year. We'd cut it down every year until COVID. We need to now start making serious changes, not making promises that we can't deliver. This is the difference between me and everyone else. Lots of people will chase polls, give easy answers. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm tired of the public being lied to and hearing policies that aren't deliverable.
I know, but they say that they were lied to by the Tories, not least on immigration and tax.
Well, I wasn't in charge then. I'm in charge now. And I was somebody who fought every day to get those numbers down. We wanted high-skilled migration in small numbers. We ended up getting low-skilled migration in high numbers. And I've acknowledged the party made mistakes, but my predecessors have to own that. I'm in charge now. And what I'm saying is we're getting immigration down. We have new policies on migration, a legally binding cap, cutting that conveyor.
Do we know what that cap is going to be? Because I've asked many of your shadow cabinet ministers and no one will tell me what it is.
That is because you can't just pull a number out of the air.
But it's not going to be 350, that's been 350,000, that's been baked in by the OBR and other bodies.
Way too high. But also, we had made some changes just before we left government that brought those numbers down. Labour scrapped those changes. So it's going to go up again.
Tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands that you'd be happy with?
We cannot have a situation where public services are unsustainable because of the number of people coming in. We will work out what that number will be at the right time. We're 4 years out. Whatever I say now could be different, could be wrong. We may need to change it. And I don't ever want to say something, Camilla, that I have to walk back on. I don't want to make promises and then have to change them and people think that I was dishonest. We have a dishonest Labour government right now. We are the honest party.
The counter-argument to that is you should know by now what you think legal migration should be capped at, because you've made the mistakes of the past. You should have learnt from them. You were in power for 14 years. Just come out with a figure. It shows a lack of confidence in your own
it's not a lack of
ability to bring
confidence. A hard cap.
down.
We've changed the policy on indefinite leave to remain, so people can't just automatically stay here, get British citizenship, disapplying the Human Rights Act, making it easier to deport people. We've changed all of those policies. But the number will come. It's not confidence. It is doing things properly. Lots of people, I could throw out any number. No one would know whether it was right or wrong. Let's do things properly.
And when will you take a decision on whether you want to remain in the ECHR?
We are going to come out with a new policy on how we approach all of the lawfare.
I thought you were going to say we are going to come out. I thought we were going to do a Robert Jenrick on us.
Well, Camilla, I've said if we have to come out, we will come out. There's more than the ECHR.
Towards coming out. Can I say that? From the first time I interviewed you as leader to now, am I correct in making the observation that you are heading in the direction of leaving?
Every day I see a new case that looks like the ECHR is unsustainable.
Yes, then, isn't it?
Every day I see a new case, but it's not just the ECHR, it's the Refugee Convention and looking at so many other things. Look at this international law madness that means that Starmer's given away the Chagos Islands. It's £30 billion. You look at the memo that was sent. Why are they doing this? It's reparations. It's to apologise for decolonisation. This is British territory. We have a strategic military base there. It's going to cost us £100 million every year. That's 2,000 nurses every year that we could be having.
When you say you can tear that up and you can tear up the EU deal,
EU deal, yes, we can. When you give territory away, it's a lot harder to get it back.
What are Brussels going to say when you take that reset deal and tear it up?
But they knew that before they set it.
Can you do it legally?
Of course, we can change it. We left the EU, didn't we?
How about the Chagos deal?
We left the EU. The Chagos deal is a lot harder. When you give territory away, it's a lot harder to get it back. That is why what Keir Starmer did did
in the
is
spirit
so
of
wrong
you
and
not
so immoral.
fooling the electorate, you've got to be honest. I mean, you can't say we're going to tear up the Chagos deal.
We're voting against the deal now. We're voting against the deal now. But unfortunately, there's 120 Conservative MPs. We're going to lead a lot of Labour MPs to see sense. And this is what I said, that at the last election, people swapped out about 250 Tory MPs for about 5 Reform MPs. We now don't have the numbers, and we've got 70 Lib Dems as well, who are well to the left of Labour. We don't always have the numbers to overturn things, but we're going to vote against the Chagos deal. It is a horrible surrender. It's bad for the Chagosians. The islanders don't like it. We lose a strategic military base. And you know the worst bit? Mauritius, an ally of China,
I have been pointing this out this
collaborating
morning.
with Russia, should not do that.
But if you can't do anything about it, then we're stuck with it.
We can do something about it now. We are the opposition.
It's going to go through because you lost the last general election.
It's going through because Labour are making bad decisions.
Okay.
We're not the government now. I can't be held responsible for what Labour does.
You laid the foundation, like so many things. There is a credible. Hang on, there's a credible argument for saying, oh, why is the welfare bill so high? Why are taxes so high? Why is immigration so high? Why have we got Labour rocket fueling a Chagos deal? And the tentacles always lead back to the Conservatives. They lead back to 14 years of bad decision-making. What were you even doing entertaining the idea of doing a deal on Chagos?
David Cameron stopped those talks. There was an advisory ruling from a court that doesn't have jurisdiction.
Wasn't James Cleverly up to his neck in it when he was Foreign Secretary?
Who was the last Foreign Secretary? It was David Cameron. He was Foreign Secretary, and he said no to that. He stopped that deal. No Conservative minister signed any deal. James Cleverly didn't. David Cameron didn't. We stopped those talks. There are always talks that happen about these sorts of things. But the point I'm making is that we were in government for 14 years. We got some things right, but towards the end we got a lot of things wrong. But I'm not responsible for those things. There were many things I tried to stop. I am the new leader, and we are changing things.
But then
what
why
we
isn't
have
it
now
doing better?
is
Hang on.
Yes.
Let's just look at this, because you wrote a really hard-hitting piece for the Sunday Telegraph today, right? You point out it's been a disastrous week for Labour. We've got the EU surrender, we've got the bungled Albanian trip, which was embarrassing in Tirana, we've got the Chagos sellout, we've got the Prime Minister at 6s and 7s over the winter fuel cut. And yet, and still, you're the opposition and you're tanking 4th behind the Liberal Democrats. That must hurt.
There was a single poll, and I'm not going to deny that these are tough times, but I'm not going to be underestimated, Camilla. I remember when I moved back to this country with nothing but my dad's last £100 working at McDonald's, people constantly underestimate me and they're constantly confounded. I'm going to fight through this, but the reason why it's tough is because we're not giving the easy answers. We are telling the truth. It's very difficult when the government is tanking. They should be having a honeymoon period, and we're saying, here are the reasons why things are going wrong. You've got another party saying, we'll give you all these freebies, we'll have all these fun things. That's the challenge. But I'm going to tell the truth. The Conservative Party is here to build a real proposition to change our country. We're not going to chase polls with easy policies. I could have thrown out lots of policies to move up in the polls, but I'm not going to lie to your viewers. There are people out there, like the fishermen I met day before yesterday, they're losing their jobs, their industries are dying, energy prices are too high, inflation is up, unemployment is up. What are we going to do?
Can you only we can fix that deal with the EU?
The EU, yes. Well, we left the EU. All these sorts of negotiations you can change. The problem is, how bad will it be in 4 years? Every day that Labour is in government, they're making things harder for whoever comes in to solve it. But we are ready for that. I am ready for that.
Are you definitely going to go the distance? Tim Shipman, Sunday Times. He's spoken to 3 serving MPs and 2 former cabinet ministers thinking that you should go.
Yes, people who will not dare to put their heads above the parapet. They're all, all these people giving anonymous quotes are cowards. I'm not scared of cowards. These are the sorts of people, I said, who underestimate me. I'm fighting for this party. I'm fighting for the future of our country. We need to deliver something for our children. I want my children to grow up in a country that's better than the one that we have now. And at the moment, we are leaving a worse inheritance. Labour is mortgaging their future. That Chagos deal, that's our kids' money that they're spending. It's just wrong.
Can I make an observation? Do you think that all of your shadow cabinet are pulling their weight? I tell you why. Elizabeth, my producer, put this list together. I thought it was really interesting. You're working hard, Jenrick's working hard, Philp's out on the airwaves the whole time, so is Priti Patel, so is Andrew Griffiths. We've not heard from the following who have ever done a morning round. Rebecca Harris, Chief Whip, Mims Davis, Wales and Women, Stuart Andrew, Culture, Gareth Bacon, Claire Coutinho, Lord True, Jessie Norman. Where's Ed Argar on health? You're doing so much heavy lifting, and these people are lesser spotted.
Claire Coutinho is on maternity leave.
Fair enough. OK, I'll give you Claire Coutinho.
Mims Davies does loads of media in Wales. She's who's the shadow Welsh secretary.
I think
Gareth Bacon is actually doing a morning round this week.
Don't you feel a few of you are up front and centre of trying to bring the Conservatives back to the party?
Well, we are up front and centre with those portfolios that are really focusing on the key message. At the moment, that is immigration, so that's Chris Philp, the justice system, that's Robert Jenrick, the economy, Mel Stride, Andrew Griffith. So we are being,
as well,
yes, we're being very, very focused. Laura Trott's been doing an amazing job in education. Vicky Atkins has been out there fighting the family farms tax. You know, the farmers and the fishermen love her, and so many more people in the shadow cabinet that I could talk about.
So
and
you're not
more will
reshuffling?
Come. So I have a good team. I built a team based on unity. They're working hard. A lot of people don't see the work that they do, but we're constantly talking about reshuffles right now.
Are you?
Constantly throughout my time in government, people would ask me, "Oh, are you going to be reshuffled?" All this musical chairs is not what those viewers are talking about.
Ian Duncan Smith in there. I mean, he's said some lovely things about you today in the Sunday Express.
Ian Duncan Smith is a fantastic person. We are a big team. There's 120 of us. We're working very hard.
Should you bring back Boris?
So I love Boris. He sends me, lots of messages, gives me lots of advice, Ian Duncan Smith, David Cameron.
Kemi Badenoch, as ever, great to see you in the studio. If only the other leader could come in. Keir Starmer, we're still waiting for you to face a grilling. You see, there's nothing to be afraid of. We're all friends here. Kemi Badenoch, thank you.
Thank you, Camilla.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Looking further afield, there's plenty of sunshine on offer and it's going to be feeling warm too across Europe with a few showers around. Now, it is going to be breezy across Madeira and the Canary Islands and running down the coast of Portugal, but otherwise plenty of fine and settled and warm weather around. There'll be a few showers, especially out towards the east, but otherwise temperatures ranging to the mid to high 20s, and that's similar throughout much of the week. Plenty of sunshine on offer, highs of 27.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Nigel is back.
Good evening.
Unfiltered.
Are these proposals bold enough?
Uncompromising.
Will it bring growth?
Unmissable.
We as a country are brilliant.
Nigel Farage returns. Coming soon. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Author and former GB News presenter Andrew Doyle is in the studio, not in Paddington, but in Westminster today, because you have a new book out, The End of Woke. Look, I'm going to do something jazzy. I'm always bad at doing this. There it is. Down. There. Love that. We love a little bit of book pluggage. The End of Woke. Here's hoping. First of all, Andrew Doyle, lovely to see you.
You too.
What is woke for the uninitiated?
Yeah, there's about 1 million different definitions, aren't there? I mean, in the book, I define woke in a sentence as a cultural revolution that seeks equity according to group identity through authoritarian means.
Oh, that's very clever.
Oh, well, we could just say quite simply...
Just being irritating.
Just being annoying is one way of putting it, but it's really about pushing your ideas on someone else, a monomania around group identity. The whole world must be seen through this lens, and we're going to make you speak the way that we want you to speak, and we're going to make you do the things we want you to do. That's what it means, really, in a nutshell.
You must respect my pronouns, or you're a bigot.
Quite.
You're now saying it's the end of woke.
Well, I'm exploring the possibility that it might be.
Is it?
Well, I think what I would say, there's an implied question mark at the end of that title,
yes.
But what I would say is that all of the signs seem to suggest that it is on the decline, and certainly in its death throes. You know, if you consider all of the major seismic events over the past few years, such as the Supreme Court ruling that Sex in the Equality Act means biological sex and doesn't shift if you wave a certificate about. We've had the Cass review, which of course has resulted in the banning of puberty blockers by the Labour government of all people, by Wes Streeting, who once subscribed to gender identity ideology and came around. We've had Trump's victory in America and his introduction of various executive orders regarding women's rights, men in women's sports, men in women's prisons. We've also had the rolling back of DEI in major corporations, diversity, equity, inclusion policies, such as, for instance, all the big ones like Walmart and McDonald's and Google and Amazon, Meta, Facebook.
Yes.
You know, it's all being rolled back. So all of this is quite huge. You've had various sort of arch leftists quietly removing the pronouns from their bios. All of these signs, to me, suggest that woke, as we knew it, the phenomena that we knew of woke, is certainly going somewhere. It's certainly dying away.
Yeah. We may have reached peak woke.
Yes.
And we're coming out the other side.
Well,
However, while individuals might reflect on it all and go, oh, that was all a little bit silly, generationally, your Zs and your Alphas are likely to be more right on than Xs and Boomers.
Sure.
And second of all, you've got institutions still kowtowing to this stuff. So we've got NHS guidelines going completely against the Supreme Court ruling.
Yes.
We read this morning in the Sunday papers, Whitehall is continuing to make applications for DEI roles, but just calling them something different.
Yeah, they rename it, you know. It's like when the College of Policing said they might rename non-crime hate incidents because they seem to be so unpopular. Yeah, that's what the woke always do, is because their movement has always been about the manipulation of language. So they'll change the language in order to force through the same policies. You're absolutely right, that will happen. I mean, just the other day we had Lady Hale saying that she's been speaking to doctors who say that there is no such thing as biological sex. Well, that's the former president of the Supreme Court saying that, talking to...
Just to remind viewers and listeners, that's Baroness Hale of Spider Brooch fame, who ruled that the prorogation of Parliament under Johnson was illegal.
Absolutely, but she knows how to accessorise with invertebrates. I will give her that, absolutely. But that's the point, is they shift the language all the time. They redefine words while they're pretending that they're not. So things like diversity doesn't really mean diversity. It means everyone has to think the same. Or inclusion actually means we're going to exclude anyone who has a different point of view.
But my point about the generations is this. If we're not around to rail against it, and generations get captured by this nonsense, who's there to stand up? Because it's all very well having a few young people. I keep on mentioning him, Charlie Kirk, but it's a good example because he was in the UK last week and did Ben Leo's show. You know, you get some young voices on the right.
Yes.
And maybe reform and Reform's rise helps with this, but it's not a popular position to be in school or university in the UK, to start espousing Thatcherite principles?
No, but that's hit it. You've hit it there. It's about unpopularity. It's about intimidation. Because actually, if we look at the maths, there's cause for optimism insofar as, I mean, the More in Common initiative, which has studied this and looked into the prevalence of woke attitudes, and I quote them in the book because they found that at the height of woke, it was only ever supported by 8% of the population in the US and the UK.
Really?
Yeah, and the reason for that is, of course, that it's always been a top-down, imposed idea from elites, from people in power. Activists have inveigled their way into positions of power and forced it onto people. But what those statistics tell us, really, really cheeringly, I think, is that it's always been a minority view in every generation. The idea that this has been old people failing to adapt to new mores, which are being pushed by the young, is a misapprehension. It's just that young people are scared to express that
This is what's frustrating. So many times I hear, you know, well, thanks for coming out and saying that. You're very brave. The silent majority agrees with you. You know, back when we were fighting the trans wars, back when we were fighting lockdown, back when we were fighting any other complete and utter nonsense, taking of the knee and all the rest of it. And my argument back would be, well, can you not be silent?
Isn't it frustrating?
It's frustrating.
Yes,
Why is the silent majority so silent? When you're in a majority, there's strength in numbers, just come out with it.
Well, because
they've been cancelled.
Well, it's the activists developed this cancel culture, this retributive system, and it is scary, and they can be effective. And anyone who's worked in any business or corporation where there is an activist in a position of power there knows how frightening they are. It's a bit like dealing with a dangerous dog. You have to watch what you say all the time. Most people just want an easy life, don't they? So I agree with you. I've had all sorts of messages for many years now saying, I love that you say this. You understand that I can't say this publicly. And I share your frustration.
All politicians say one thing in private and then say, but I couldn't possibly say that publicly.
They do.
And you're like, oh.
It's so annoying.
It's not quite wokery, but just to finish, a couple of different stories. So the Lucy Connolly situation. 31 months for a very offensive tweet, but then not as much as being given to some violent and sexual offenders, which is a problem. And then second of all, the stories, I wish I had the Telegraph in front of me, but the stories this morning about a Jewish protester at one of the pro-Palestinian marches basically saying, free Israel or praise Israel. He gets arrested. Some of the people who are rabble-rousing on behalf of Palestine aren't. Then that other story from 2 days ago about the guy with the cartoon mocking Hamas, he gets arrested. Is this another part of this kind of two-tier policing? I mean, is it wokery? Or...
It's fundamentally wokery. The reason for that is that the woke movement is predicated on the idea of censorship, on mistrusting free speech. I don't think it's an accident that when the College of Policing, which trains the police in England and Wales, brought in their non-crime hate incidents, brought in the idea that they should have a database of people for wrongthink. That happened around 2015 with no government mandate. Successive Home Office secretaries tried to stop them. The High Court told them you shouldn't be doing it, but they carried on because it's activist captured, it's activist led. I don't think it's a coincidence that the head of the College of Policing of the time had won the highest award from Stonewall the year before.
Oh, Stonewall rears its head again.
Exactly. So what I think is going on is these people being arrested for tweets, this kind of two-tier policing, which is absolutely true. I mean, in the case of Lucy Connolly, 31 months in prison for talking about the riots. One guy, Philip Prescott, who actually attacked a mosque, gets 28 months in prison.
They will say they're following the sentences guidelines and the law, but we continue to watch that case very closely. Andrew Doyle, your book, The End of Woke, Here's Hoping, is out now. There we are. Oh, I've pointed it to the right camera for the first time in the history of this show. Andrew, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. During the week ahead, we'll see rather unsettled weather across the UK, all of us seeing some outbreaks of rain at times, quite blustery winds at times too. Low pressure sitting towards the north and northeast of the UK at the moment, fairly tightly packed isobars, indicating quite blustery winds. So all our weather moving in from the west at the moment. And as we head into the evening and through the overnight period, certainly see quite a few showers moving in from the west across northern and western parts of Scotland into Northern Ireland and the northwest of England. The best of the clear spells tonight towards the south and east of the UK, and it's across the south where we see temperatures holding up fairly well, generally in the high single figures, whereas towards the north of the UK, certainly in rural spots, dipping low enough in rural areas for a touch of frost by Monday morning. As for Monday morning, a bank holiday of course, there'll be plenty of fine weather towards the south and east of the UK to start with, whereas towards the north, quite a few showers coming in across the north and west of Scotland. So at this stage of the day, it's the northeast of Scotland seeing the best of the bright weather. For Northern Ireland, a bit of an east-west split first thing. Showers out towards the west, some sunshine towards the east. A few showers out across northern and western parts of England and into parts of Wales too. So it's towards the southeast, as I mentioned earlier, that we'll see the best of the early sunshine. As we go through the day, showers will start to break out more widely from the west. I think the south and east generally seeing the fewest in the way of showers, whereas out towards the west those showers will tend to merge, especially as we go into the afternoon to give some more persistent outbreaks of rain. Quite blustery winds once again, still a chance of local gales up towards the far north of the UK, and temperatures a little bit on the cool side, certainly towards the north and west, the low to mid-teens at best, perhaps peaking at 17 or 18 Celsius down towards the southeast, 18 is 64 in Fahrenheit. As we go into Tuesday, it's a quieter start to the day, plenty of sunshine, just one or two showers around, but notice further outbreaks of rain moving in from the west and southwest as we go through the day, some of that turning quite heavy as we head into the afternoon, particularly out towards the west and southwest. It stays unsettled for the rest of the week, further rain to come at times. Where the sun comes through though, temperatures not doing too badly, peaking in the high teens to low 20s Celsius.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Someone is going to win the biggest prize package to date, and that someone could be you. Driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It has plenty of room for your family of four. Comes complete with kitchen, bathroom, and all the space you'll need for life on the road. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only